Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm Farooq Patafi. Yesterday we talked about National Action Plan. Today we are going to talk about another thing which is very important, the economy of the country. It is important because since this government has come, the punters keep on saying that maybe the government is not understanding how the economy has to work. But the fact remains that whatever the government did, it has managed to not only survive but finally reach the stage where we are discussing terms and conditions with IMF as well. Asad Umar Saab visited the US recently, a few days ago, and there he held talks with the IMF leadership and World Bank and other international financial institutions. After arriving back, he has said that Pakistan, in principle, has agreed on certain things and there will be a bailout. We still are waiting for the IMF team to come to Pakistan, and once it does, we will finalize the terms and conditions and the amount as well. And after that, of course, there are other institutions that are also going to chip in. And remember that letter of confidence has to be issued. Once that letter is actually issued, then Pakistan can will trade in certain bonds as well, and Pakistan will have relative comfort. But so far, the story is quite interesting because when the previous government was leaving, there was one finance minister who was known for holding up rupee against a dollar. The exchange rate was fixed or controlled in many ways. Then came another finance minister of the same party, and he sort of removed those distortions. And after that, we have seen kind of a nosedive of rupee, and now it seems to be stabilizing, but the costs seem to have gone up. Inflation is an issue, and then there are many other aspects that we are going to discuss today. How is it that we are going to go back to IMF that is known for quite strict conditions, and after that we have this expectation that the government will be able to give relief to the people as well simultaneously. But somebody has to fix the macroeconomic instability and issues regarding that. We are going to discuss this. In order to discuss these issues, we are joined by Kamran Yusuf Saab, a senior journalist, a regular in this program, a columnist, and a talk show host as well. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Next to him is Shakil Rame Saab, Executive Director of Zalme Foundation. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. On telephone, I'm joined by Dr. Waqar Ahmed, who is Additional Executive Director of Sustainable Development Policy Institute, SDPI. Thank you very much, Dr. Saab, for joining us on telephone. To start with you, and I have to ask you, what exactly is going to be the shape of things regarding IMF Pakistan agreement in coming days?
Thank you very much, Farooq Saab. I think a couple of things are now clear after the finance minister's visit. The first, of course, that in terms of the current account deficit, IMF seems comfortable that the gap is now narrowing down, given the downside in imports. The second, of course, we also understand that there have been some measures which have been taken by the government to reduce the fiscal deficit, which has also been seen very encouragingly by the IMF. I think the two or three things where the agreement still needs to be fine-tuned in the coming days. First, of course, is the exchange rate regime. IMF, of course, feels that the exchange rate should be based upon the market sentiment and the market interactions, which actually means a relatively more freely floating exchange rate. The government feels that at some point, of course, brakes have to be applied, given that Pakistan also has a large debt stock to keep it in consideration. Second, of course, is that in order to check on the inflation, of course, they may like to see a bit more hike in the interest rate. A third, of course, is that IMF also wants a very clear commitment on how the circular debt in the energy sector would be curtailed. And then finally, the losses of the public sector enterprises, they need to see a restructuring plan or some sort of a commitment that these losses can be managed by the government in the coming days.
So,
Now,
Dr. Saab, when we are talking about circular debt, does that mean that we are going to see further price hikes in the prices of energy, oil, and other such components?
so in the short term, yes, there could be a pressure to increase the unit prices of both electricity and gas. In the medium term, however, the government can commit to a plan to reduce the line losses, number one, and number two, to improve the receivables. But yes, in the short term, there may be some painful adjustment. You're right in that, yes.
So more inflation, sir?
Uh, well, the current projections certainly seem to indicate towards a hike in inflation in the next quarter, as well as the quarter after the IMF program is negotiated.
And are you confident, Dr. Saab, that by the end of this month, we will see the finalization of the agreement, sir?
I think the sentiments which have come out, or the communique which has come out, the government seems relatively more confident, yes. IMF was also very pleased with government's own effort to put in place an economic roadmap. Just before the finance minister left, he did launch government's own medium-term economic framework, which in fact the government wanted to see. So if one looks at the medium-term economic framework, there's some strong commitment to reform which the government is giving. So one can believe on the good intentions, yes.
Right. Dr. Waqar Ahmed, thank you very much for your time, sir. Coming back to the studio, let me ask Kamran Yusuf about this possible or probable agreement between IMF and government of Pakistan. What do you see the conditions are going to be in coming days?
I think we have to wait once the IMF team arrives in Pakistan, because principally, as the government or the finance minister is saying that the the agreement has already been reached, but I think certain details have to be worked out, and that's why the IMF team is coming to Pakistan later.
Yeah, you're giving me the answer of an analyst or a philosopher. You're not giving me the answer of a reporter.
No, the reason is because I am giving you an answer of a reporter, because the government, because they realize that they need to improve the perception.
Yeah.
So after coming back from the US visit, the finance minister and the government is trying to give a positive vibes that look that we have reached an understanding with the IMF.
Yeah.
But my understanding is that things are still in the process, and we have to wait until the IMF delegation comes to Pakistan and what will be the final conditions, because this question was also put to the finance minister, and he said that it is not appropriate at this stage when the negotiations are underway that we should reveal all the conditions. But one thing is certain, that the IMF is saying that remove all the subsidies. The effect will be that the electricity prices will be increased, the gas prices will be increased, the inflation will also go up. So these are the understandings that the government of Pakistan has already given. And there are also reports.
Yeah, but we thought that somehow the government has already started doing that. And now, whatever the current rate of inflation might be, it might be, we have already fulfilled many conditions. And that was the understanding of many students and reporters.
No, but still the worst is yet to come, because the IMF is saying that, look, that you have to increase the electricity price or bring it at the cost. So that's the, if the government say, okay, no subsidy on electricity, this will further increase the prices. And we have already seen the reports that the government is also contemplating to further increase the gas prices up to 80%.
Okay.
So one can imagine that there will be, a lot of problems for the common man in the coming days, once the deal is finalized.
Let me go to Shakil Rame. So your understanding of the atmospherics that are building, and how exactly is it going to translate into relief or lack of it for the common people, and how it is going to affect the economy?
First of all, I agree with Kamran, Dr. Waqar. So there are a few things are positive are happening, and on the extent of how it will impact economy, we have to look at term and conditions. What would be the term and conditions which we have agreed there? The previous experience tell us, so always when we are going there, so we have to follow some term and conditions which give up price hikes in certain areas. But government can have a space so where they can negotiate if we talk about the common man.
Right.
Because the subsidies we are giving, they are the blanket subsidies.
Okay.
So maybe we can talk to them so for the targeted subsidies. The sections definitely no, the IMF or the World Bank don't want to punish the poor. They want to remove it if there's somebody, for example, who is consuming more unit of electricity or gas. So they are the rich people or the middle class, upper middle class.
Yeah.
But they are getting the subsidy at the name of the poor. So maybe go there and say maybe there would be some, the government can negotiate. Maybe they may be.
I'll have to ask you to actually identify what is the range of, upper middle class. Because I understand that there are people who are salaried, and while dollars price is value is increasing vis-a-vis rupee, the salaries are not increasing. And if
so salary is not increasing, you are right. But the problem is, look, you have to identify from people are purchasing power. If you look at the lower cadre, they are not purchasing. So they are very less purchasing power. For example, if we go for the consumer price index, it includes so many things which, for example, luxury hotels or the hoteling. Can you imagine a person who is drawing the 15,000 salary, he will go for some luxury hotel? No, so consumer price index does not give us the true pictures of what is happening. So it is upper class or the middle class which are consuming. So definitely middle class is also under pressure right now due to what you are talking about, the no salary raise. But the government can negotiate for the poor. Because you have to prioritize where you have to negotiate and where you don't have to negotiate.
And what happens to the middle class?
So middle class, they will not be the so much pressurized that they cannot survive. They can survive by, look, there are a number of things which we can compromise. For example, we compromise on the luxuries. Don't go for the hoteling for some time period. It is not necessary to go for the hoteling every other day.
Yeah, so you're talking about restaurants, right?
So big restaurants, big restaurants, don't go every day. So make a rational decisions. So, but the
and you and I have utterly and completely different perspective on working class or middle class.
You can have. Look,
I mean, how many people,
when you are
working
going
class
through
people
pressure,
go to restaurants every day?
When you are going through pressure, when you have the limited resources, you have to make the rational decisions. It is not like that you make the luxurious decisions. You make the rational decision. It is at either it's a household level or at the national level. At the national level, we're going through a crisis. So we have to make the rational decisions. Not like that, but I would have everything. We can have when the economy will be reviving. One thing and second thing, we have to introduce new areas in taxation. For example, I always say the agriculture. So people say like that, no, agriculture, poor farm. Who says to tax the poor farmers? Make a limit above the 20 acres. Everybody will pay the tax. The income, you can say like that, above that income they will pay the tax. What is happening right now? The big landlords, the big landowners, they are saving the tax from the agriculture income, and sometimes they also declare their other income to the agriculture income to save the taxes. So it's a due. So we have to go there. And third thing on IMF package, this is my hunch feeling. I don't have any information. Maybe what IMF saying like that they are looking for a more detailed level visit. Maybe they are looking towards the Prime Minister visit to Iran and to China on the BRI. Maybe they will be exploring some more information, what you have done and what you have not done. This is hunch feeling.
How?
Because if
how is Iran related to IMF deal?
So that's what I'm saying. Why they are talking about the CPEC MIFD?
Because
BRI is related to the CPEC.
Involves money, right?
That's what I'm saying. So BRI related to the CPEC. If they are asking for, and government is going to sign few more agreements during the visit of Prime Minister to China, maybe they are asking for more detail. So it's a hunch feeling, it's a no information I'm saying.
So what he's trying to say, because there is always a political element.
And it is
in
always.
This IMF negotiation, it has always been, because US has a clear, say in all these things. And we know that when Pakistan, soon after this government took over, we saw US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, unprecedented statement given that, look, that we have to be very careful that if we are to give if IMF to give a package or bailout package to Pakistan,
It
then we have
shouldn't
to
end up-
understand
yeah.
it shouldn't be end up, with China. And I think this is also one of the major
In
obstacles
lieu
or contentious
of debt
points.
payment to China, right? That was the statement. Again, money involves money. And right now we are talking about economic issues, so the understanding or whatever we heard from the government is that government of Pakistan didn't have any problem in sharing information
Yes.
about its borrowings from elsewhere, BRI or elsewhere. So that means that bottleneck is over. We are out of that bottleneck and we can work further.
No, from
score-
Pakistan's perspective, the
Yeah.
bottleneck is over. The issue is that we know that often these IMF negotiations are used by the United States for other purposes as well. We know that there will be certain conditions with strictly regard to the economy, but then there are certain other areas they may be discussing informally. So there are so many things at
It
the
will
moment
not
going
be
on.
written. It will not be part of that written document.
So that's why even when Finance Minister Asad Umar was in New York, he wanted to meet with the U.S. Treasury Secretary.
Yeah.
But there is always a
Secretary
political.
Mnuchin.
Yeah.
Secretary Mnuchin is under pressure for something else.
Political element is
He is
always
hiding
there.
from media right
Because US also knows that Pakistan is facing serious economic crisis.
Okay.
So certainly they would want to exploit that situation to make sure that whatever concerns they have, whether when it comes to Afghanistan or overall regional perspective, they would like to place it on the
now.
table.
Afghanistan is a
I
safe
just
bet
want
and
to
we
add
can
two
take
things.
care of
I
that.
just want to add two things here.
Yeah.
First, look, the decision making of IMF, in every big decisions or the major decision, IMF need 85% votes. And America hold almost 16% votes.
Right.
That means if the rest of the world is approving something, until unless America is not on your side, the
Yeah.
decision will not be made.
Yeah.
One thing and second thing. Look around to when the political economy will play a role. During the Musharraf era, there were two things which why it's that package was successful. One thing, they did some reforms and they expand the tax base. But the second thing was the global political economy.
Okay.
Global political economy was in favor of Pakistan. Pakistan was making new arrangements. Pakistan was, new investments are coming, or some money was coming due to political economy. So every decision, so IMF or World Bank is making, it have the political dimension. If you look at the documents when the Mr. White and the John Keynes were deciding this IMF and the World Bank,
Yeah.
so what they were talking about, if you look at those documents, how they were exchanging, so
Yeah.
this was a fundamental thing how to control.
Okay.
So that is the happening. And today Secretary Pompeo also gave up one more statement about the Afghanistan.
Yeah.
So he is talking about the other things which I don't want to talk here. So it will be correlating
No,
to
you
that.
can talk about that, but let me actually come back to another question. That is regarding political economy. We are going to talk about economic problems as well. But Kamran Yusuf, every time we go to IMF and whenever we tend to actually complete a program or we are very close to it, we are told that the country's economy is out of the woods. And then we hear a lot about how positively the economy is performing. One example, Pervez Musharraf Sahab. Second example, PMLN's last government. The moment that government goes away, all that hunky-dory shining Pakistan or shining economy feeling also goes away. What exactly is wrong there? Why can't we actually sustain the gains that we make?
The main reason is that we don't have minimum consensus on these areas.
Okay.
And I think, all the governments, they have short-term policies. They don't think in the long run. Even
Right.
you talked about the Musharraf era, many people thought that, he was responsible for the energy crisis that Pakistan faced later on. His administration could have done much better, but he didn't do it. Similarly, now this government is holding the PMLN responsible, whatever is happening, because saying that, look, that the government artificially, kept the rupee at a certain level. They should not have done that. And that's why, now they had to rectify that. The problem is that every government, really look for short-term policies.
Okay.
Look at India. I believe that they have taken just one program, IMF program,
Yeah.
because IMF program, you go to the IMF when you need certain structural adjustments in
Right.
your economy. And once you do that, then you really rely on your own resources. Here it becomes, it becomes our habit. I think this is 22nd program, I believe, that we have,
13 or 14.
Yeah, we are going to, get from the IMF. So look, this is, we are it appears that we are in a vicious circle.
Okay.
This government is complaining that this is going to be the last program, but I seriously doubt it that this is going to be the last program.
No, but
we certainly may need. So the issue is that the way out is that we need a broader consensus.
Yeah,
what kind of policies that we want to pursue on the economic front.
There's also some element of hope here, because this government came into power for the first time. And before coming to power, they have been saying that they are going to fix certain problems, restructure bureaucracy, take care of the financial this and that element. They were even talking about Khazana model for a bit for PSCs, right? Public sector enterprises which are not performing. Now it seems that government at least is sticking to those guns. One question, sir, regarding circular debt. Earlier, Dr. Waqar was saying that it can be fixed, but in the long run, we'll have to, work on the inflows. In the short run, you'll have to raise prices. How much this space can be further leveraged?
First thing, on the circular, before coming to that, I just want to add one thing, what you are asking to comment on. So, look, IMF package can only work if we increase our revenues. From Sharaf onward, our tax base decreased.
Okay.
We have to accept that. Until unless we are not working on the revenues, no model can work. Because you have to spend on development sector, on other sectors, you have to spend on the people, you need revenues. If this government, as they are claiming, they are going to fix the tax base or the tax system.
How?
So they are saying that they are coming up with the policy. So we have to wait for the policy, what policy they are bringing.
Okay.
So maybe after
amnesty
maybe after that we will be seeing something like that.
Although at the moment they are facing a record shortfall in the revenue.
Okay. So they have to they have to be very strong on that. Until unless they are busy in making the feel good decisions or to just for the voter player made decisions, it will not work.
Voter pleasure is one thing, human survival is another.
They have
you're talking about a country which has
they have the social
of
safety nets. They have the social safety nets. They have created new ministry. They have introduced new program. They will go for that. But the problem is, look, until unless you are not fixing your problem, you cannot move ahead. Everybody at home
earn more, spend less.
Earn more. You have to earn that, and for that purpose, tax is the only way. If the state want to earn.
Yeah,
that is the only way.
But for that, you have to create a condition.
So condition,
for example, for a better economy, because at the moment,
and hold
there
that
is a lot of uncertainty.
Hold that thought. It is a good point. I'm going to come back to you, please, sir. You have to answer the circular debt bit also.
Circular debt, in the short term. So what they are doing like that, they are trying to take care of the theft of this energy, electricity, their gas. They are putting the cases, they are trying to recover the resources from there. That can be one way. But in the long run, you have to invest on your transmission. What the government committed, the mistake during the previous government, so they invested a lot of money on the generation of the electricity. But on the transmission, there was no money was invested there. What was invested was
they claim they are investing,
so, but it was very less.
It's a monopoly, so
it's a very less. And the third thing, for the solution, if you talk about the economy, solutions are long run.
Okay.
There is no shortcut. And shortcut is only for the short time. But after that, you face a problem like we did the IMF. On the business, that will be the hub. As I always stand to this commitment, there are the three stages in the economy, development of economy: primary, secondary, and the tertiary.
Right.
Tertiary is the service sector, but primary is the industry. Your agriculture, because these are the two sectors, industrialization and agriculture, which create the jobs. And they're trying to create the environment. For example, the investment. But devolution is also playing some role here, because they are talking about the one window. How they can create a one window if there you have the 5 board of investment in your country?
One window in 5 buildings is not workable.
So that's what I'm saying. So that's some fundamental
unless
problem.
you fix a pipe.
So fix the pipe. I don't know how they fix like that.
Install a pipe and then you can crawl through.
So it's not like that.
A single window.
One thing and second thing, what they are trying to do, they are trying to go for the meaningful partnership with the business community.
Right.
Like that the business council they have created.
Here is where Kamran Yusuf earlier highlighted is important. How to create the enabling environment that actually helps the business to flourish. Remember, Usually it is thought that growth and reforms cannot go together. You have to first fix the system and then you go for reform, right? So for growth, business and all that. How do you create both simultaneously?
I think it is important. The first thing that the government needs to do, perception is very important.
Right.
Since this government took over, they somehow or the other created, uncertainty. They created fear among the business community.
They did
because,
they did or we did?
Because of the government's rhetoric.
Kamran,
because
they
the government's
did or we
rhetoric,
did?
Listen, the government's rhetoric, the government's priority at the moment, since last 8 months, if you take out all the press conferences, the statements, 80% they focused on Zardaris and Sharifs. Okay?
Corruption?
They may be corruption.
On alleged corruption?
Corruption is important issue and is their prime agenda, but you have to simultaneously look for other issues. For example, let's suppose if entire Sharif family, entire Zardari family is in jail, do you think that these things will really solve our economic problems?
No, but what makes
I think
you
the,
hang on.
the mistake they committed this
Kamran
government,
sir, with
that
due
they
respect.
heavily relied on this thing. One, blaming the previous government.
Okay.
Second, just focusing on Zardari and Sharif. They think that their
No, but
voters and the
Kamran-
people at large will
Kamran-
say, look, that this government is really fulfilling their
No, I
promises.
get that. But Kamran, what makes you think that the government was not multitasking? Of course, they will
No,
give
they
to
created
media.
that impression.
They will give to media what media likes. It likes juicy bits. When you are going to offer media the story, long tales of reform, they are not going to buy it. How many of us are actually analyzing
where are
economy?
those reforms? You talked about reforms.
No,
the problem is that they, the Prime Minister, the government, formed so many task forces. We don't know what happened. What happened with the reforms of the FBR? Because that's the real problem that we are facing.
Okay.
On the contrary, we are facing a record shortfall in the
They-
revenue.
they
so
separated-
what's going on? No,
They separated, policy from execution. That was one thing. Now they have recently actually introduced the automation bit as well that we have been hearing for past 15 years. So they are moving in that direction too.
No, moving in that direction, but those things are not visible. Again, I said that perception is very important.
Yeah.
At the moment that they created only perception that they are going after Sharifs and Zardaris.
Yeah,
So what
but-
happened is,
No, I thought that you are going to talk about ease of doing business as well, are you?
No, ease of doing
When
business.
you were talking about creating
the
the
first thing is, first you need to create a confidence among the investors. At the moment, because of your unpredictable policies, investors are really very scared. They are not investing. That's why this amnesty is coming, because government was under tremendous pressure from the business community that this is not going to work the way that you are running the government. Because inherently, this government was strongly opposed to giving such kind of amnesties, because this was the brainchild
said
of
it, yeah.
Ishaq Dar and the PMLN. But
Yeah.
now they were facing the pressure. So this is the thing that they need to do. They need
Shakil
to
Rame.
restore the confidence of the investors so that they start investing in this economy. And that's why then you will be able to create growth and all the job opportunities and everything.
Shakil Rame, your take on this?
Look, if we talk about the investment, if we minus CPEC, so what is the investment in the last 10 years?
Okay, right.
One thing and second, look at the investment in this government. So when this government came into the power, I'm just talking about the my group, Zalme group, they invested $900 million. They brought two huge investments. Then you find the Volkswagen is coming in Pakistan. Peugeot is showing the interest. Then Suzuki has enhanced their investment. Coca-Cola has enhanced.
ExxonMobil.
Number of investors are coming here. So they are showing the interest now. So it is not about like that. So the investors are not coming here. The problem is like that. Just try to make it some story way. So a few days back I was traveling with my kids from Lahore to Islamabad. After 30 minutes he started to ask me, Baba, when we will reach the Islamabad?
Okay.
It will take 4 hours.
Yeah.
So government, that is exactly happening in the
Actually,
government.
that is your real life story. Otherwise, even in the movie Shrek, there's this episode where Donkey keeps on asking, are we there yet?
So the problem is, so we are not ready to give time for the execution. We are asking the results before the execution.
Yeah.
But we did this to the CPEC during the last 5 years. We were asking the outcome before the execution. So we have to wait to how they're executing.
And how fair is this criticism that the government keeps on talking about corruption and especially two powerful political parties rather than fixing or looking at the real issues. How fair is this criticism?
Look, if we look at the problem, so why we're facing the problem of FATF? Money laundering?
Okay.
Why we're facing this problem?
Yeah.
If we look at other
One of the components is money laundering.
the main, because if you look at FATF, it was created to cater the money laundering, 1989.
Yeah, sociology, its
Then
first origin was that.
In 1989, it was created to tackle the money laundering.
Yeah.
The terrorism come much later, after 9/11. Terrorism come here. So one thing, and second thing, why we should not fix this problem? Who says, which economist is saying like that we should not fix this problem? IMF saying like that, other investors saying like that. Which investor will come to your country if they have to believe that you have to go through a scrutiny like that, this system, and they have to go through like that 2 months delay, 3 months delay in their payments? Will they like to invest there?
No, but
So
he has one point, and that is, and you will agree with me, of course, you are with one of the investors, that investors don't like uncertainty, and they don't like a lot of bluster.
So definitely they don't like. But the problem is, an investor is not like that they will believe only on the statements. They look at how the government system is moving.
Okay.
If
Market
it is
fundamentals.
just fundamentals are moving. It's not like that you can hide the fundamentals of your economy. And the perception survey like these things, I don't believe this.
India is hiding. I mean, IMF said that India has to reveal and start telling the truth about the economy.
Because they have the other data. Yeah. That's why telling them. They are not just criticizing them. They have that, then they started to ask them. Okay. If they don't have the data, they will never ask them. And other thing, I don't believe in international ranking this system. You remember in 2007 or 8, when everybody saying AAA companies, they were defaulted the next day. When they were questioned in the Senate, they said, oh, it's only perception.
Yeah, subprime mortgages.
So like that. So it's
swaps.
You don't believe that take the investors so like that ignorant, like they don't know the fundamentals of your economy. They know that where the economy is moving. The perception management is for the common man.
Okay.
So because all the big groups, they have their research wings. Yeah. They do the research. For example, the number of researches on the name of, for example, in developing countries, you will find number of researches which are happening on the name of the ICT. Okay. If you look at who is supporting these research, you will find the IT companies, you will find the Microsoft, you will find number of organizations, because they're catering the future market. They're more smarter than just what we are talking about the economists.
Right. While you were talking, I was looking at Kamran Yusuf, and his body language was telling me that he wants to come up with a retort. Please go ahead.
I think he may be right, because obviously, any businessman, he does not simply rely on the media reports or the ranking. Obviously, he has to be pragmatic. He has to see things in perspective. But we have to understand that this government, so far we have seen a lot of uncertainty. Nothing else. He talked about that many multinational companies are investing. They are not investing. Many automobile companies are coming to Pakistan, but they are not coming.
Uncertainty how?
That process was there even before the government, before this government took over.
I get that. But how were those perceptions created of uncertainty? Was it because of merely because of government statements, or because of the media's optics? Media might take, you have to realize
the government is
media also contributes a lot.
The government is providing the media the meat.
Yeah.
Obviously, many people say
yesterday
that, look,
somebody reports Asad Umar has been removed from the ministry.
And these leaks
and today they have been served notices.
These leaks are coming from within the PTI ranks.
I mean,
so there are grouping, and the reason is because, even he earlier talked about that we should give time. Exactly, we should give this government time. It's not even a year old at the moment. But even PTI's own people are saying that this finance minister has really made a mess of the economy and he should be changed.
And they are all economists.
And there are many, Jahangir Tareen is the one who is leading the charge against the finance minister.
I mean, politics.
Saying that, he was the one who was suggesting that, look, we should go to the IMF. We should not wait for our friends to bail us out. Had we gone to the IMF, let's say, soon after the government took over, the situation would have been far better. You won't have seen that much of uncertainty. So
Speculation,
yeah,
actually.
these are the decisions that government could have taken much earlier.
Yeah, but is it not true that when you elect a government, they have the right to make policy?
Absolutely,
and
they have the right to make the policy.
And there are people who disagree
Nobody is
within
denying
the
the
party
fact.
also. You don't have to become
Nobody
a tool
is
in their
denying
hands,
the
right?
fact, but at the same time, they should also have this temperament to then face the criticism, because that's the difference.
Remember when
Because you are in the
Ishaq
government, and now the people will ask you the questions, because what people are saying, because they are reminding you what you were telling us, that this is that you are going to do.
Kamran,
You have all the plans, but then people really found out that they didn't actually have the plan.
Right, Kamran, when, if you remember, Ishaq Dar was the finance minister, many of our economists were writing letters to IMF. And there were many people from within their party who were criticizing him as well. So, the media at that time also, we didn't think that it was becoming a party to the entire thing. Today it feels that somehow media has become a party. Is it not true?
You know, it happened also previously, because obviously, you know, this is how the media works.
No,
you know,
it doesn't.
absolutely.
Look,
in Pakistan,
it
you know,
doesn't
listen,
get exploited.
what happened? I think
on the
media played a pivotal role in shaping the public opinion that helped PTI win the elections. Except a couple of channels, others were absolutely, you know, supporting the PTI.
Now that you have elected the party, don't try to bring it down. Media does that way, right?
Listen, we say like the media is playing a role. So there are number of times happens. So when if you look at USA, nobody was giving a chance to the Mr. Trump. Everybody saying it's just run of the mill elections, and the next day Hillary will be in the power.
But they were so hypocritical. They kept on
That's
criticizing
what
him.
I'm saying.
They kept on showing him as well.
That's what I'm saying. No, you got my answer. What I'm saying.
Yeah.
I will talk about the economic data.
Yeah.
If you're saying like that, immediately we have to go to IMF. There are two things which I want to discuss. One thing, the previous government said we no need to go to the IMF. Then why the first day government had to go to the IMF? On one side they gave, everything was wonderful. So why they are suggesting government they should go to the IMF the very next day? One thing and second thing.
No, because you owe them a lot of money.
So that's what I'm saying. So we have to look at the analysis, not just by saying here and say there say. Second thing, if we go to the IMF, what they were suggesting us, $160, $180 when they were then there's a prediction in the market.
180 rupee per dollar.
At
You're
that
talking
time,
about exchange
at that time, not right now. I'm talking about the past. So was we able to bear that shock?
No.
So we were looking for the cushion where we can play with better.
But
with
gradually, I believe that you have given that understanding.
Gradually,
your rupee will come to that point.
Let me to explain.
Will it climb back up?
No, let me explain. Government, Asad Umar never said that they are not going to MF. He said that we are in negotiations with them.
Yeah.
Always he maintained that. If nobody is want to pick that statement, that is a different story.
Yeah.
Because he was saying like that, we are in negotiations. Second thing, they're getting some back. So you cannot get anything on, for example, if you're also getting this loan from IMF, that will additional interest rate. You have to pay that additional interest rate. If you have some better deals, or some flexible deals which can help you and which can reduce your burden in terms of the interest rate, either it's a bad or the good idea. So we have to talk about the economic optics. So they have that space. Now they are thinking like that for next year, because yesterday, the day before yesterday they have paid 1 billion on the bonds which government has floated in the market.
Eurobonds.
They floated high rates.
The previous government.
On the higher rates than the market, even than the higher rates than the Ambani's. From the 1%, the state has floated the bonds on the high rates like that.
Even more than Ambani's.
Yep. Because Ambani gave the lower rates.
Okay.
And the Pakistani government of Pakistan gave the higher rates. So these are the things. And second thing, if they are trying to reduce the burden, because next year you again have to pay the debt.
Yeah.
That the PTI government did not have it. I am not supporting the PTI government. The problem after I am saying we have to give them 1 or 2 years at least to look at their performance indicators.
Right.
If they are 2 or 3 years on the road, if they are not making the good decisions, then if they are not.
And when you say government, you include the finance minister in it.
Everybody. So everybody, because government, because it's not only finance
is also
minister.
part of the government.
I want to understand.
He is representing the government, no?
No, he is arguing that the entire government should be given time, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the
Should be given
media
a time.
keeps on actually
And I
saying
think
that change this man or change that
so far
man.
we've purely focused on, you know, the the economic technicalities, I think the major challenge for this government is that, look, till now, I believe that majority of the PTI support remains intact. They believe that, they believe their government's narrative, that most of the problems that they inherited from the previous government. So certainly this government needs time. But the main challenge will be, if this situation continues, if the inflation remains high, if things continue to deteriorate on the economic front, let's say even after a year from now, that's when the real challenge this government is going to face. Okay. I don't think so that the people will have that much patience that they will continue to say, okay, even after 2 years, this government is going to say, we are still trying to stabilize the economy. I think now they have the time, because once this IMF deal is signed, one hurdle is going to be clear. They can then start focusing on how to ensure that while implementing the IMF plan, at the same time ensure that the negative fallout of this IMF should be minimized on the common man. If they fail to do that, I'm afraid they are going to face a real tough time in a couple of years' time.
But they have to give the time. And second thing, the media also exaggerate the extent like that.
Yeah, and
like how many votes did they dented the PMLN? PMLN is still a major party in the country.
Yeah, it is.
PP is still a major party in the country. Yeah. You cannot say like that they have gone. So media is self like that protecting.
I think this fact should also be acknowledged by the PTI government also. That they have to acknowledge. They have to acknowledge that the opposition also has a relevance. Opposition also has a relevance because the PTI gives the impression.
Two very important
things. They guard the vote.
He's talking about media's objectivity. You're talking about a partisan force that is PTI. PTI will have its own perspective. It will be partisan. But media doesn't have to be partisan.
They guard the vote before the PTI came to the power. In the election of 2018, PTI was not in power. PMLN guard the vote. PP guard the vote.
Okay.
Other parties guard the vote. So we cannot say like that what media is saying is 100% right.
Okay.
So like that they will be changing everything.
Here's the problem, and that is very serious, and I have very quick reaction I have to take, because I'm told that we are running short of time. The question is, there used to be very dedicated components of media outlets, newspapers and television channels focusing on economics. And they used to tell us about every policy. And somehow, one day, they were replaced by this scholar king anchors who start actually commenting on everything. And they think that their A or nay decides who Asad Umar is going to be and others. Do you think it is about time that media has to reclaim that space and bring back the economic wings?
I doubt that will happen, because this is the reality that you have to face. Okay. This is the same media, the same channel that the PAMRA issued a notice today was the one who was a staunch supporter of PTI, and PTI
it still is.
Was the PTI was one of the main beneficiaries. Yeah. So you have to live with this reality. And this is how this
we have to
the
have
media is going to work.
And economics media, right? Yeah. One has to have that. Sir.
Look, if they think they have the solution for everything, if anybody think, including myself, we have the solution for everything, we are absolutely wrong. Okay. If that was the case, why is the media is asking the support from the government for the sustainability of their employees? If they have solution for everything, from economy to the sky. So we have to come out of this mindset. Look, who is doing the what job? We have to focus that job. I am an economist, I have to focus on the economy. I should not go for every other day so like that to tell the cricket team how to play a cricket match, what is your technique, how you can improve yourself.
And I think for government, I think they need to forget about what the media is saying. If they focus on their agenda, their reform agenda, ultimately results will start coming. Right. But if they get embroiled, why media is criticizing, then I think they will certainly be a failure.
That's a sound advice we gave to every government that came, and they never listened, right? At this moment, I'm told that we have to conclude the program. Shakil Ramee, thank you very much for your time. Kamran Yusuf, always a great pleasure having you on the show. While we still have to wait and see what exactly is the nature of package that is going to be agreed between Pakistan government and IMF, one thing is for sure. Pakistani people, Pakistani media need more education on what is going on in the economic field. If we want to grow as an economy, we need economic and financial commentators on television. We need special niche channels and niche programming as well. If that doesn't happen, people who barely know the subject will keep on confusing the government and keep on actually complicating this situation. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching us. Take care.